everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a place steeped in sun, sand, and a chilling history that most beachgoers never even begin to imagine. We're talking about Galveston, Texas, a seemingly idyllic stretch of coastline known for its family-friendly vibes and soft Gulf breezes. But beneath the surface of laughter and splashing waves, lies a past whispered in the salty air, a past that some say still clings to the dunes long after sunset. Imagine this: the year is September 8, 1900, the deadliest hurricane in U.S. history struck Galveston. The waves that gently lap the shore today crashed with a terrifying fury, dragging people into the sea. Well, that's a story for another time. But the echoes of those turbulent days, of lives lost and pleas unanswered, are said to linger here, carried on the very same sea breeze that draws tourists in droves. Today, we're not just talking about history, we're plunging into a modern-day nightmare. A group of friends, seeking a thrill, decided to push their limits with an overnight camping trip on a beach. Their bravado led them to dare each other to stay past the stroke of midnight, when the usual cheerful atmosphere transforms into something far more unsettling. As the wind begins to moan and the waves grow restless, they start to hear things: whispers carried on the breeze, faint cries for help that seem to rise from the very depths of the ocean. What starts as a spooky dare takes a terrifying turn when one of them vanishes without a trace. Now, the remaining friends must decipher the ghostly messages carried by the wind and waves before they too become another tragic tale whispered on the shores of Galveston. Are you ready to hear their story? Because trust me, after today, you might never look at a beach the same way again. This is Galveston's hurricane victims are still haunting the living. Let's get started.
Fire crackled and spat, sending embers dancing into the inky sky. Around it, we huddled, 5 college students fueled by bravado and cheap energy drinks. There was me, Liam, the perpetually nervous one; Maya, the self-proclaimed skeptic; Ben, the class clown; Chloe, always up for a dare; and Noah, the brooding, enigmatic leader of our little pack. We were on a beach in Galveston, a stretch of sand known more for its family-friendly atmosphere than any spooky tales. But tonight, we were determined to change that. Noah, of course, was the instigator. He found some obscure blog post about the beach being haunted by the victims of a long-ago hurricane, their cries carried on the wind. Midnight, that's the test, Noah had declared, his voice low and dramatic. Anyone who chickens out before then is a certified scaredy cat. Maya had rolled her eyes. Seriously? You actually believe that garbage? Don't knock it till you try it, Noah had retorted, a glint in his eye that promised a night of manufactured thrills. Now, as the hours ticked by, and the first tendrils of a stiff sea breeze began to whip around us, the thrill was starting to feel a little too real. The waves crashed against the shore with a rhythmic roar, and the wind howled like a mournful spirit. I pulled my hoodie tighter, a shiver tracing its way down my spine that had nothing to do with the temperature. Did you guys hear that? I asked, my voice barely a whisper above the wind. Ben snorted. Hear what? The ocean? Yeah, Liam, we're on a beach. No, I mean, a whisper. Like someone calling for help. Maya scoffed. Probably just the wind playing tricks on you. But I wasn't so sure. It had been faint, almost imperceptible, but there was definitely a sound carried on the breeze other than the usual beach sounds. As the night deepened, the wind intensified, and so did the whispers. They were fragmented at first, a single word here, a sob there, but they grew clearer, more desperate. Help me. One would moan, followed by another, lost. So lost. And then a chorus of faint cries, weaving together into a tapestry of sorrow. Even Maya, the staunch skeptic, started to look uneasy. Ben's jokes became less frequent, his laughter forced. Chloe, who had initially been the most enthusiastic, was nervously biting her lip. Only Noah remained unfazed, his eyes gleaming with a strange excitement. Okay, this is getting creepy, Chloe admitted, her voice trembling slightly. Maybe we should pack it in. Chicken, Noah taunted, a cruel smile playing on his lips. Almost midnight. Don't tell me you're scared. Chloe bristled. I'm not scared, I just think it's stupid to stay out here listening to that. She gestured towards the darkness beyond the firelight. Fine, you guys can leave, Noah said, shrugging. I'm staying. A tense silence hung in the air. Ben glanced at Maya, who in turn looked at me. I knew what they were thinking. We couldn't leave Noah alone. Not when he was clearly egging something on. "We'll stay," Maya said finally, her voice tight. "But if anything weird happens, we're out of here." The minutes crawled by. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, swirling around us like angry ghosts. I closed my eyes, trying to block them out, but they seeped into my mind, filling me with a suffocating sense of dread. Then, the scream. It was a blood-curdling shriek that pierced through the wind and waves, cutting through the night like a shard of glass. It was Chloe. We all jumped to our feet, adrenaline coursing through our veins. "Chloe, what's wrong?" Ben shouted, grabbing her arm. Chloe pointed a trembling finger towards the ocean. "Noah, he just walked into the water." We all stared in disbelief. Noah was indeed wading into the dark waves, his silhouette barely visible against the blackness of the sea. "Noah, what are you doing?" I yelled, my voice cracking with fear. He didn't respond. He just kept walking, further and further into the ocean, the water reaching his waist, then his chest. "Noah, stop, you're going to drown," Maya screamed, but he seemed oblivious to our cries. Without thinking, Ben plunged into the water after him. He reached Noah and grabbed his arm, trying to pull him back. But Noah shook him off with surprising force. "Leave me alone," he shouted, his voice distorted, almost unrecognizable. "They want me." "Who wants you?" Ben yelled back, struggling to keep his grip on Noah. "The voices," Noah cried, his eyes wide and glazed over. "They're calling me home." And then, something impossible happened. As we watched in horror, the water around Noah seemed to ripple and swirl. A dark shape rose from the depths, tendrils of seaweed snaking around his legs. He didn't struggle. He didn't scream. He just looked up at the sky with a serene smile on his face, and then he was pulled under, disappearing into the black abyss. Ben scrambled back to shore, his face white with terror. He's gone, he stammered, collapsing onto the sand. We stared at the ocean, our minds reeling. Noah was gone, just like that, swallowed by the sea. Panic set in. We had to get out of there. Now. We scrambled to pack up our things, our movements clumsy and frantic. As we did, the whispers intensified, swirling around us like a vortex. They were no longer just cries for help, but something else entirely. Something malevolent. "Leave," they hissed, the sound slithering into our ears. "You're not welcome here. Go, before it's too late." We didn't need to be told twice. We grabbed our bags and ran, not stopping until we reached the safety of the car. Back in town, adrenaline slowly drained away, leaving behind a bone-deep exhaustion and a chilling sense of dread. We sat in stunned silence, unable to process what we had witnessed. What was that?" Chloe whispered, her voice barely audible. "I don't know," Maya said, shaking her head. "But we have to tell someone." "The police, maybe?" "No," Ben exclaimed, his eyes wide with fear. "Don't tell anyone. They'll think we're crazy. They'll lock us up." He had a point. Who would believe us? A college student being pulled into the ocean by ghostly voices? It sounded insane, but we can't just pretend it didn't happen, I protested. "Noah's gone. We have to do something." "We will," Maya said, her voice firm. "But we'll do it our way. We'll figure out what happened to Noah, and we'll make sure it never happens again." And so began our investigation. We started by researching the history of Galveston, poring over old newspaper articles and historical documents. We learned about the devastating hurricane that had ravaged Galveston many years ago, claiming countless lives. We also discovered stories of shipwrecks and drownings, tales of lost souls trapped between worlds. The more we learned, the more we became convinced that Noah had somehow stumbled upon something truly sinister. Something that had been waiting for him. We kept hearing the whispers, no matter where we went. Faint and insidious, they were constant reminders of the horror we had witnessed. They seemed to be trying to tell us something, but we couldn't decipher the message. One night, I was alone in my room, trying to make sense of the fragmented phrases we had heard on the beach. I closed my eyes, focusing on the sounds, trying to isolate the individual voices. Suddenly, a word popped into my head. Lighthouse. I sat bolt upright, my heart pounding. Lighthouse? What did that mean? I called Maya and Ben, and we met at the local library. We searched for information about lighthouses near Stewart Beach, and we found one. It was abandoned and dilapidated, located on a remote stretch of coastline a few miles from where we had camped. "Maybe that's where the voices are coming from," I suggested. "Maybe it's some kind of conduit." It was a long shot, but we had nothing else to go on. So, the next night, we drove to the lighthouse. It was even more eerie than we had imagined. The structure loomed against the night sky, a skeletal reminder of a bygone era. The wind howled around it, carrying the familiar whispers. We cautiously made our way inside, our flashlights cutting through the darkness. The air was thick with the smell of salt and decay. As we climbed the winding staircase to the top, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. When we reached the lantern room, we found it. Scrawled on the walls in faded paint were names. Hundreds of names. Names of people who had died in the hurricane. Names of sailors lost at sea. Names of drowning victims. And then, we saw it. One name, written larger and bolder than the rest. Noah. Beneath it, a single word, welcome. We realized then that Noah hadn't stumbled upon something evil. He had been drawn to it. He had been destined to become a part of it. As we stood there, the whispers intensified, swirling around us like a tornado. They were no longer just voices. They were a presence, a collective consciousness of lost souls, desperate to be heard, desperate to drag others into their eternal misery. We knew we had to get out of there, but as we turned to leave, a figure materialized in the doorway. It was Noah. His eyes were vacant, his skin pale and translucent. He smiled at us, a chilling, empty smile. "You're home now," he whispered, his voice a hollow echo of the boy we had known. "You'll never leave." We ran for our lives, the ghostly figure of Noah hot on our heels. We stumbled and fell, but we kept running, fueled by adrenaline and sheer terror. We finally made it out of the lighthouse and back to the car. We didn't stop driving until we were miles away, far from the beach, far from the whispers, far from the ghost of Noah. We never went back to Galveston. We never spoke of what happened that night, but the whispers still haunt us. They follow us in our dreams, in our waking hours, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurks beneath the surface of the world. And sometimes, when the wind is just right, we hear a familiar voice calling our names, beckoning us to come home.
So, there you have it. Their terrifying night on a beach in Galveston. What started as a bit of youth bravado turned into a chilling encounter with something they still can't fully explain. The whispers, the feeling of being watched, and the horrifying disappearance of Noah, it's something that will forever be etched into their memories. This experience has definitely changed them. They went to the beach looking for a thrill, wanting to brush up against the supernatural. They got more than they bargained for. It makes you wonder about the stories we dismiss as just legends. Maybe there's more truth to them than we realize. Maybe some places hold on to the echoes of the past in ways we can't comprehend. The ocean, so vast and powerful, has always held a certain mystery, a certain allure. But now, for them, it carries a darker weight. The gentle waves they once found soothing now sound like hushed pleas, and the wind seems to carry whispers on its breath. They're still trying to process everything that happened, and maybe sharing your own stories can help them, and others, feel a little less alone in the dark. And if you ever find yourself on a beach, especially after the sun goes down, maybe think twice before you dare the night. Some whispers are best left unheard. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, and maybe, just maybe, keep an ear out for the whispers. You never know what they might be trying to say. Until next time, sweet dreams and sleep tight if you can. Hey, horror fans. If you enjoyed our chilling tale and want to keep the spine-tingling stories coming, don't forget to hit that like button. Your support keeps the darkness alive. Share this video with your friends, let's spread the fear together. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you never miss a hair-raising moment. Join our community of thrill seekers and prepare for more eerie adventures. Thanks for watching, and remember, stay scared.